Hi there, welcome to Live Stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. This week, we're playing with a trilogy of yoga classes themed Sun, Moon, and Stars. Today kicks off part 1, where we're activating our Pingala or Sun energy system. You'll find the work invigorating and heat building. At the same time, you're working on increasing your strength and your endurance capacity. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify if you need to, and feel comfortable to pause the stream to rest as often as need be. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to start off today's class standing towards the top end of the mat, and we'll run through a few rounds of sun salutation, Surya Namaskar A, warming up the body dynamically before we begin playing with our primary sequence, where we're going to be alternating between the right and the left side of the body. Set yourself up in a comfortable samasthiti with your feet stacking in parallel underneath your hips, all 10 toes looking towards the front of your mat. Stand up nice and tall, start squeezing the energy between the inner thighs together, pull up softly from the pelvic floor towards the waistline and float your hands into Pura Mudra in front of your heart. Take a moment just to gather your thoughts. Take a big breath in. Float your hands overhead, taking a gentle back bend. Exhale to fold forward, bending the knees as much as you need to connect your hands to the mat. Step your right leg back, step your left leg back, coming into a plank line. Give me a nice parallel line to the mat. Then drop your knees gently to the mat. Relax your feet, work a modified chaturanga, bending the elbows, bleeding your way down onto the belly. Then start softly peeling up through the rib cage, stopping in a baby cobra with your bottom ribs still touching the mat, elbows tucked into center. Stay here or find your way into up dog, pushing off the tops of your feet and your hands to float your whole body off the mat as you find up dog. Then pike your bum up to the ceiling, tuck your toes under, and give me a pedaling down dog, bending and extending the legs, keeping your knees tracking forward. Step up the right leg, trying to stack underneath the hips. Step up the left leg, peel back up to your start position in Mountain Tadasana with your hands in heart center. Take a big breath in, take your gentle back bend. Exhale to fold forward, bending through the knees if you need to step your left leg and then your right leg back, easing your way into plank. Relax the knees and the feet. Bend your elbows, but keep hugging them in as you find your way down into the belly. Bleed into your cobra, transition into your up dog, find your down dog and take it for a pedaling walk. Step up the left leg, stack underneath your hips, step up the right. Ragdoll style, peel back up to your start position, hands to heart center. Take a big breath in, give me a back bend. Exhale to fold forward. Step your right leg back and then your left leg, find your plank. Relax your knees and your feet. Bend your elbows, keep hugging them in as you chaturanga down, bleeding into your cobra, and maybe transitioning into your up dog. Find your down dog. See if you can hold the stretch, trying to work the arms and the legs as you hold that little piped position. Step up the right leg, step up the left leg. Ragdoll style, peel back up, hands to heart center. Big breath in, find your back bend. Exhale to fold forward. Step your left leg back and then your right, finding your plank. Relax the knees and the feet. Bend your elbows, chaturanga down into the belly. Bleed into your cobra. Maybe transition into your up dog. Find your down dog frame. See if you can hold the stretch this time, trying to drop down through the heels of your feet. Step up the left leg and then the right. Bleed back up to your start position. Let's do one more full round. Big breath in, find your back bend. Exhale to fold forward, maybe moving a little bit more rapidly as you step back into your plank. Relax the knees and the feet. Bring it down onto the belly, ease into your cobra, transition seamlessly into your up dog, and then your down dog hold. Step up right, and then left, ragdoll back up to mountain. Big breath in, find your back bend. Exhale to fold forward. Step back into your plank. Find your 4-point kneeling frame, bend through the elbows, find your way onto the belly, bleed into cobra, transition into up dog, and bleed seamlessly into your down dog hold. Step up left, and then right, ragdolling back up to your start position. Take a big recovery breath or two. We're going to change our orientation on the mat, and you're going to give me a warrior two position, taking a big step back with one leg, windmilling your arms open, wriggle your front foot forward, make sure that you've got a nice bend on the lead leg, knee over ankle, and your back leg is angled in at about 90. Your arms are nice and parallel, so watch that you're not dropping that backhand. Lengthen through the front arm and the back arm, and give me the longest line that you can manage. Look for strength here in your warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Then drop your backhand to your back leg, invert the front hand, and reverse your warrior, bringing that top arm up, maybe giving me a soft bend in the elbow and looking up towards that palm as you find a slight crescent shape through your back. Lead your way back into your warrior two line and straighten up your lead leg, squaring up both feet and finding Prasarita Padottanasana. Open up the legs as wide as you can. Make sure all 10 toes are connected to the mat and that you're anchoring from the big toe, around the little toe, around the outer quadrant of your foot. Now find warrior two on side two. So take the leg that was in the back previously, set up your warrior two frame. Watch that you're not leaning forward into the warrior. So try to keep the weight coming down evenly through the pelvis towards the floor. Check that your arms are nice and parallel and try to keep your gaze steady over the front forefinger. When you're ready, reverse your warrior. Drop your backhand to your back leg, invert the front hand. Give me a soft, almost crescent shape through the back as you give me a soft lead arm looking up towards that palm. Open up as much as you can through the ribs. Breathe as deeply as you can into the front of your rib cage. Parivarta Virabhadrasana 2. Then bleed your way seamlessly back into your warrior two frame. Transition to Prasarita, keeping that nice T frame through the arms, maybe trying to open up the legs a little bit wider this time. Then drop the hands behind your back, trying to bring the two palms together and fist the hands behind your back and come back into your warrior two frame through the legs. Trying to drop your fisted hands down between your bum cheeks as you arc slightly through the spine to look generously up towards the ceiling. Look for strength. Maybe try to wiggle your feet further apart so that you're dropping your center of gravity a little bit lower towards the floor and having to work the legs just a little bit harder. Keep the leg frame and take a little bow in humble warrior as you bring your head to the inside of the lead leg. Try not to lean all of your body weight into the lead leg, so you're pushing back into the whole foot on the back leg, trying to even out your body weight distribution. Bleed back up. Keep the hands behind your back. Square up the feet. Come through a soft tabletop line. Hold the tabletop line and reach with your fisted hands as if you were trying to knuckle the wall behind you. Try to hold more or less a tabletop line. Nice long line through your neck and your spine and your hips. Bleed back up and find your arching warrior on side two. Drop your fisted hands down between your bum cheeks. Open up your chest to the sky. Breathe as deeply as you can into the front of your ribs. Try to even out your body weight distribution as you start dropping down through the head, taking a little bow in humble warrior. Check that you're anchoring through that back leg and trying to disperse your body weight. Bleed your way back up. Square up through the feet. Maybe taking it a little bit wider. Find your tabletop line and knuckle the wall behind you with your fists. Then uninterlace the hands. Maybe reach for your calves. Brush your hands down your calves. Maybe reaching for the outer quadrant of your feet. Place your hands softly on the floor, more or less in front, more or less shoulder width apart. Bring your feet in slightly. Turn to face the front of your mat and angle your back foot in at 45 as you float up into a warrior one line. Hands floating alongside your ears. If you find that a wide stance is too much, maybe bring the lead leg in slightly, but make sure that you've got your back leg angled in slightly at 45. Face the top end of the mat, look for strength. We're going to bring it from here into a little balancing challenge. Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3, and we'll play with the arm line. You can either keep the arms where they are alongside your ears, or as you start transitioning, you can throw the arms behind you. Start leaning the weight forward. Use the toes on the back foot to find your balance on the mat. Push all the weight off the back leg. Float into a little tabletop line. Arms alongside your body. Palms maybe looking up to the ceiling or palms facing into the center line. Find a little tabletop line. Either stay here or find a half moon by dropping your lead hand to the lead leg, drop it to the floor, open up slightly through the body, so stacking one leg on top of the other and taking a little half moon stretch, Ardha Chandrasana. Take a big step back. Sit up Prasarita, square up through the feet, and this time float the arms out in front. Ears being framed on either side by your arms, trying to hold a tabletop line, feet nice and squared, inner thighs working, lower belly working. Lead up along the center line, angle the back foot in slightly at 45 as you find your warrior one on side 2. Floating the arms alongside your ears. Reach long through the fingertips, but try to find a sense of softness in the collar line and the shoulders. Make sure you haven't lost that bend on the lead leg. We're going to bring it into our balancing challenge, either keeping the arms alongside your ears or starting to drop the arms and throw them behind your hips. Push off the back toe. Use the toes if you need to find your balance on the mat. Try to forge a nice little tabletop line. Think of trying to square up as best you can through the shoulders and the hips. Then drop your lead hand just in front of the lead leg. Start pivoting slightly through the hips and think of forging maybe a T-like frame through the arms as you find Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Give me a few more breaths here. And then you'll find your way back to your transitioning midpoint in Prasarita Padottanasana. Bend your lead leg, take a big step back, square up the back foot at 90, then square up your lead leg, float the arms alongside your body, reaching long through your fingertips, and try to forge more or less a tabletop line through your body. Try to keep the weight distribution equal on the balls and the heels of your feet. Drop your hands gently to the mat and square up your front foot. So toes looking to the front of the mat. Drop down into a low lunge and try to place your lead hand on the inside of your lead leg. If you can't reach, maybe take a block, play with the dimensions of the block and find a little bit of support for your frame, trying to open up the arms into more or less a T frame. If you find that the block is too low on the floor, you could give me a bent elbow alternative, leaning into the lead leg and opening up the other arm into T. Drop as low to the mat as you can. So think of opening up through the pelvis and try to drop your bum bones down to the mat. Stay or play. Maybe drop down a little bit further, softening your lead elbow. Tuck the elbow and the shoulder underneath your leg, wrapping the hand from the inside, and then try to bind both hands behind your back, holding as low to the mat as you can comfortably manage. Stay here, or if you want to challenge your balance and coordination, you can bring it into a little bird of paradise balancing challenge. Heel toe your back foot in, trying to keep the bind on the front leg. Stop when that back foot stacks underneath your hip. Then transfer the weight from the front leg to the back leg. Use your toes on the lead leg and see if you can peel up into a little standing balance. Maybe even extending your leg. Then retrace your path back. Come back to the center line. Square up through your feet. Place both hands on the mat in front of you. Hands stacking more or less underneath your shoulders. Take a big breath in. Cross one hand over the other. And then take a gentle twist towards your lead leg. Lead your way back to center. Square up through the shoulders. Cross one hand over the other, this time looking towards what was your back leg, and take a gentle twist. Think about how you're going to set up your low side angle from here. So start squaring up your leg. Place your hand on the inside of that leg and begin generously opening up into your side angle. Use your block, or maybe use your elbow on the top thigh of what is now your new lead leg. If you'd like to play with the bind, drop down lower through the pelvis. Start softening your lead elbow. See if you can tuck that arm between the legs. Take the other arm behind your back, making a little bear grip behind your back. Try to drop as low as you can to the mat, either staying here or starting to play with that little balancing challenge. Begin heel toeing the back leg in. Don't rush it. Stop when your foot stacks underneath your hip. Transfer the weight from the front leg to the back. And just gently, gently start peeling up. Once it feels like your body is stacked, maybe begin extending that leg. Then gently unbind. Find your way into Prasarita. Drop both hands to the mat. All 10 fingers looking in the same orientation as your toes. Take a big breath in. Cross one hand over the other, looking towards the back end of your mat. Take a gentle twist to the back end. Inhale to find your way back to center. And exhale to take your twist to the front end of your mat. Crossing one hand over the other, and then finding your gentle twist. Pause here before you come up and think about how you're going to find your way into a triangle line from here. So maybe start straightening up the foot that's at the top end of the mat and bring your back leg in slightly at 45. Drop your lead hand to the inside of your lead leg and open up into a soft triangle frame Trikonasana. If you can't keep your hand on the floor, you could perhaps modify by just placing your palm gently on your shin bone, or you could reach for a block, playing with the dimensions of the block and placing it on the inside of your foot as you open up into Uttita Trikonasana, open triangle. Shoot for a nice T frame between the arms, as if you were running a broomstick from the one palm to the other. Stay here or try to get more work through your trunk by extending your triangle line. Start dropping the top arm closer towards your ear. You're going to feel an awesome stretch into the rib cage on the top side of your body. Try to forge a long line through your hip, your ribs, and the arm. Stay or bring it into full rotation by starting to pivot slightly through the trunk, crossing over your lead leg to place your fingertips on the outside of your foot. Maybe you'd like to hold onto the shin. Maybe you'd like to place a block behind your leg to support your frame and twist to face the back. Give me a few generous breaths here before you find your way back into Prasarita. And this time, as you bleed back to center, square up your feet, reach from the inside, maybe from your ankles or from your calves or the top of your thighs as you try to drop your head through the tabletop line so that your crown is looking down towards the floor. And if you have managed to bind from the inside of your ankles, maybe you'd like to soften your elbow line so that you can almost pull your head, starting to try to pull your head almost through the legs. You're going to feel a lot more pooling of the blood in the head. Make sure that your weight distribution is equal on the balls and the heels of your feet. Then softly bleed your way back up. Place both hands on the floor in front of you and start to set up your triangle leg line. Transition, face your toes to the back of the mat. Angle in your back foot slightly at 45. Creep your hands towards the back end of the mat. Place your lead hand on the inside of the back foot and open up into your triangle line. You could modify by placing your hands softly on your shin bone or use a block. Wherever you decide to play, don't lean aggressively on the bottom arm. Focus more on getting me length through the top arm so that it almost feels like somebody's softly pulling your frame up, and you need to rely on a lot more core work to hold your frame steady. All right, extend your triangle. Bring that top arm closer towards your ear. Think of that long line through your hip, your ribs, your arm. If you'd like to look for even more work, you're going to start rotating your triangle, pivoting, crossing over the midline to try to find a little hook spot behind your foot, maybe fingertips or palms softly connected to the mat as you find Parivrtta Trikonasana, a rotated triangle. Take a few generous breaths here. And then think about how you're going to transition back to Prasarita. Just bleeding your way back, maybe placing your fingertips on the mat, squaring up through the feet. Try to take it nice and wide again. Then drop your head down through the tabletop line. Try to bind from the inside of your legs, maybe wrapping around the ankles, the calves, or the inner thighs. Maybe softening through the elbows. Maybe you're nice and low to the mat and your head is gently touching the mat. But don't lean any weight into the crown of your head. Think length through the neck. Give me 2 or 3 more breaths here. Then gently start to unpeel when you're ready. Place your fingertips on the mat in front of you and start walking towards the top end of the mat. Bend your lead leg, tuck the toes of the back leg under and come into a low lunge, Anyaneyasana, by relaxing the knee of the back leg to the mat. You can either keep your toes tucked under or you can relax the foot on the back leg. Make sure that you've got knee over ankle on the lead leg. I'm going to tuck my toe under and I'm going to peel up into a low lunge, stacking one palm on top of the other and pushing that thigh away, tucking the toes under so that I'm getting a nice stretch into the arch of my foot and I'm getting just a little bit more work down the hip flexors and the top of that back thigh. Then drop both sets of hands to the floor. Keep the back toes tucked under. Start bumping your hip line back and extend the front leg. For round 1, try to keep all 5 toes connected to the mat. If you find that tucking the toes of the back leg under is too much, just relax the bridge of your foot to the mat. Try to extend the front leg and try to keep All 5 toes looking down. Almost hollow out through your back and breathe as deeply as you can into the back of your ribs, hollowing out your belly. Sorry, not your back. Hollow out your belly, round out your back. Hold the stretch. Then bend the lead leg. Toes relaxed or tucked under. Come into a little low lunge and open up your arms into a little cactus frame. Almost thinking of trying to float the 2 shoulder blades closer together behind you and breathing as generously as you can into the front of your rib cage. Feel the chest opening up as you inhale. Then come back into your hamstring stretch, this time trying to float the arms behind you and see if you can peel the toes off the mat, reaching behind you with your fingertips, trying to find a little bit more of a straighter back line this time. And if you find that your balance is not there, keep your fingertips on the mat, but try to almost hook your chin over your toes that are looking up to the ceiling. If you're using no hands, you need to rely on a lot more inner thigh squeeze and a nice generous pull up from the pelvic floor to find your position on the mat. Come back into your low lunge line. Fist the hands behind you as you lean forward. Make sure you've got knee over ankle on the lead leg. Toes are either tucked under or relaxed to the floor behind you. Dealer's choice. You're going to find your way from here back into Prasarita using no hands and keeping the fisted position if you can. Square up through your feet. Drop your head through the tabletop line. Reach with your knuckles for the ceiling and try to tap your crown to the mat if you can, if you're nice and low. If you're higher off the mat, just hang your crown down. Use your inner thighs, use your core to hold the frame. Give yourself a couple of breaths here, allowing for that inversion of the blood into your head. When you're ready to come up, unbind the hands, maybe gently placing the fingertips on the mat. You're going to set up your low lunge line on side 2. So begin walking towards the back end of the mat. Straighten up your front leg, all 5 toes looking towards the front of the mat. Tuck your back toes under on the back leg. Relax the back knee. Keep the toes tucked under or relax the foot to the mat. Make sure you've got knee over ankle as you bleed up into a low lunge. Pushing one palm and then the other stacking on top. Push away off your lead thigh. Try to get a nice little stretch into the hip flexors and the top of your back thigh. Then drop both hands to the floor. Start bumping your hips back. Try to keep all 5 toes on the lead leg connected to the mat. Round out through your spine. Almost pushing off little spider fingertips, hollowing out your belly and breathing as deeply as you can into the back of your ribs. Creep your way back into your low lunge. Back foot relaxed or toes tucked under, whichever you prefer. You're going to come into a little cactus frame this time. Trying to maybe float those 2 shoulder blades closer together. Breathe as deeply as you can into the front of your ribs. Open up your chest center, your Anahata chakra. Then drop your fingertips down. Oh, no, let's sweep them behind us, sorry. Tuck your toes under if you can, helps with the balance. Sweep the arms behind you, almost as if you were trying to reach through your fingertips and tap the wall behind you. Now start to try and straighten up your spine a little bit more. So you're shooting for a longer line from your tailbone to the nape of your neck, and you're almost trying to hook your chin over your toes. Ease your way from here back into your low lunge. Try to fist the hands behind your back, either toes tucked under or foot just softly draped on the mat behind you. Give me a few more breaths here, and then you're going to think about how you're going to find your way into Prasarita from here. Bring the back knee up off the floor, start squaring up through your feet, open up as wide as you can. So you can surreptitiously slide the feet further apart, drop the crown of your head towards the floor, float your fisted hands up towards the ceiling. Try to allow the legs to slide a little bit further apart. Use your inner thighs, use your core to hold and support your frame. Unbind your hands, place them softly on the floor in front of you, and creep your way to the front of the mat. Straightening up your front leg, so all 5 toes are looking to the front of the mat. Then tuck your back toe under. We're coming into a high lunge line from here. If you need to, you can drop down onto the knee of the back leg and repeat a low lunge sequence. Otherwise, push up. Don't lean forward when you come up. So think of pulling the weight back into the heel of your back leg and see if you can bleed up into a nice high lunge line, bringing your hands to active prayer in front of your heart. So you're pushing into both palms. All 10 fingertips are looking up towards the ceiling and your elbows are floating wide. Give me a few generous breaths here, looking for strength. Use those inner thighs, don't lean forward, keep pulling back into the heel of the back leg. Think about that little hamstring stretch we did in the previous round, but we're going to change it up slightly. Start softening your back knee and relax the back foot to the mat. Release the arms and tap your fingertips to the mat. You might need a block for this one, so maybe just bring a block closer. You're going to walk your weight back and you're going to try to sit your 2 bum cheeks around your back heel, sitting up nice and tall. If you find that you're dipping lower on the one side, maybe take your block, tuck it underneath the bum cheek of the extended leg and support your frame so that you're nice and even through the hips, nice and even through the shoulders. Find your seat and then just see if you can softly fold forward. Maybe this means just keeping your palms or your forearms connected to the mat as you think nose to knee, Chandrasana. Keep bracing actively into the foot of your extended leg. Try to get a sense of evenness through the shoulders and the hips. So try to notice whether you're tilting and dropping on one side. Try to even it out as best you can. Give me a few generous breaths here. Then we'll come back into that prayer high lunge and we'll add a little twist. So when you're ready, start bending your lead leg and start creeping towards the top end of the mat. Make sure you've got knee over ankle. Tuck your back toe under, bring the knee up off the floor. Push back into the back heel and come back into your prayer lunge. If this feels good, take a twist towards your lead leg. So hook the opposite elbow on the outside of your lead knee. Your hands are still in active prayer, so you're pushing into both palms, and one elbow is looking up towards the ceiling. The other elbow, the bottom elbow, is hooked on the outside of your lead knee. Keep pushing weight back into the heel of the back foot. Then bleed your way back down. Relax the back knee and foot. Drop the hands to the mat. Walk your hips back. Try to sit your bum cheeks around your back heel. Extend the front leg. Maybe this time you're able to bind around the back of the foot. Maybe you need to take a strap or a hand towel to make that connection. Or maybe if you've got an additional block, if you're sitting on one, you could maybe place the block on the inside of your leg and just find a comfortable forearm stack position that allows you to fold forward. Hold your stretch. Just think head to knee, Chandrasana. Look for that sense of evenness through the shoulders and the hips. Take a few generous breaths here, breathing as deeply as you can into the back of your rib cage. Drop the arms at your sides, creep back into your high lunge. Make sure you've got knee over ankle on the lead leg. Tuck the back toe under as you come up into the lunge line. Don't lean forward, push back. Find your prayer position. Find your twist towards your lead leg. Either staying here or starting to open up the arms and thinking of forging a soft T-like frame. Dropping One hand to the floor and opening up the other to the sky. Give yourself a few breaths here. And then retrace your path back. So hands back to your twisted prayer. Then square up. Relax your back knee, relax your back foot. Drop your hands to the mat. Bump your hips back. Find a seat with your bum cheeks wrapping around the back heel. Then on the same side as your extended leg, take the arm on that side, take your middle index finger and thumb and try to bind around the big toe or use your strap and hold on to the foot. See if you can extend the other arm out in front, maybe making a little mudra with your middle finger and your thumb and pointing the other 3 fingers towards the top end of the mat. Just fold forward as best you can. Maybe look off the front end of your mat so that it feels like you're trying to hook your chin over your toe lock. Give yourself a few generous breaths here. You're going to think about how you're going to find your way into Prasarita from here. Unbind. Start finding your wide standing straddle on the mat. This time, maybe placing the hands on your thighs, sliding your hands down the outer quadrant of your legs to reach around the outer quadrant of your foot on either side, and dropping your crown as close to the floor as you can and holding that intense stretch. Inner thighs are working. Lower abdominal area is working. Your feet are as wide as you can comfortably manage. You're allowing the blood to pour gently in your head. When you're ready to come out of Prasarita, you're going to gently place your hands on the floor, more or less shoulder width apart, and you're going to think about how you're going to transition into your high lunge line on side 2. Start creeping towards the back end of the mat. Start squaring up through the feet, so all 10 toes are looking to the front of your mat. You're coming into the high lunge, so you're trying to keep that back knee off the floor. If you need to, relax it down and just modify with a low lunge for this series. Otherwise, push back into the back heel, hands to prayer mudra in front of your heart, pushing actively into both palms and allowing the elbow points to softly float up to the side of the room. Give yourself a couple of generous breaths here. Keep sending energy out that back heel so that your weight distribution is equal on the 2 legs. Then drop your fingertips down to the mat, relax the back knee, relax the back foot. So drape it just gently on the mat. Walk your weight back and try to sit your bum cheeks around the heel of the back foot. Square up through the shoulders and the hips, and then gently just fold forward. Maybe creeping your hands forward. Maybe you're resting on your fingertips, maybe your palms, maybe your forearms. Just find a gentle stretch here. Think head to knee, Chandrasana. Breathe as deeply as you can into the back of your ribs. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center. When you're ready, bleed up and find your way back into your high lunge. Make sure you've got knee over ankle. As you come up into the high lunge, don't lean forward, push the weight back. Find your prayer position. Stay or play, rotating towards your lead leg. Hook the elbow on the outside of your bent leg, so just on the outside of the knee. Give me a few generous breaths here. Then bleed your way back to active prayer. Relax your back knee, relax your back foot, drop your hands to the mat, walk your weight back, sit around that bum, or sit your bum around the back heel. Maybe trying to bind both hands to the undercarriage of your foot, tugging the foot in, thinking nose to knee. Use your strap if you need to. You can even modify with the block and hook the block around your foot, hugging the block in towards your body line. Don't be afraid to just experiment, have some fun. All right, let's find our way back into that lunge series, and we'll add a little opening in our twist. Bleed your way back into your high lunge line. Tuck your back toes under, bring the knees up off the floor, pull back, find your prayer position. Then twist towards your lead leg, anchoring your elbow on the outside of your knee, maybe opening up the arms into a soft T frame. Give yourself a couple of generous breaths here. When you're ready to come out of your open twist, you're going to bleed your way back. Relax the back knee, relax the back foot, drop your hands to the mat, creep your weight back, find your seat on that back foot. On the same side as your extended leg, you're going to take that arm, middle index finger and thumb, you're going to find a little big toe lock. You're going to drop that elbow down, and you're going to extend the other arm, maybe just reaching with all 5 fingertips or making a little mudra with your thumb and your middle finger and pointing the other 3 fingers towards the top end of the mat. Try to give me a longer back line on this one, so try not to round out. Rather think longer back line. Try to hook your chin over your big toe lock. Think belly to spine. Give me a few generous breaths here. Then think about how you're going to find your way from here back into your transitioning prasarita. Unbind from your toes, place your fingertips on the mat, take that wide standing straddle, place the hands on the outer quadrant of your legs, slide them down, maybe reaching for the outer quadrant of your foot as you make the crown nice and heavy to the floor. Take a couple of generous breaths here, opening up the legs as wide as you can. Make sure your inner thighs are active. Make sure you're grounding through the feet so all 10 toes are connected. You're going to think about how you're going to find your way from here into a down dog facing the top end of your mat. Maybe gently place your hands on the mat and look towards the top end of the mat. Start walking towards the top end and then start transitioning through your legs and step back into a down dog frame. Packing your body up nice and high towards the ceiling. Arms are extended on the mat in front of you. Let's kick up the right leg behind us in a 3-legged dog. And then swing through into a pigeon line. So you're going to think knee to hip on the right, float the foot in, and drape the leg on the mat. You've either got the knee and the ankle in a straight line, or you could try tucking the heel in closer towards the perineum. Relax the lead leg to the floor. Relax the back, knee, shin, and foot. Then slide, walk, or creep the back leg away and come into a high pigeon line, walking your hands up and trying to get a sense of evenness through the shoulders and the hips. So try not to collapse and lean into your right bum. If you need to, you can take a block and you can wedge the corner of the block just underneath your bum crease on the right so that your frame is supported. Take a couple of generous breaths here. Either stay here or float the hands behind you, maybe even fisting the hands and try to float your fist up as high as you can. So almost pretend somebody had hooked around your fisted hands and was pulling you towards the back end of the mat. Take a few generous breaths here. Maybe you'd like to bend the elbows, stack the forearms, rest them on your lower back if you find this more comfortable. Unbind your hands, place them softly on the floor, and ease your way into child pose from here. So if you do have a block underneath your bottom, feed it out now. Slide back into child pose, big toes together, knees open nice and wide, arms long and extended in front of you. Walk your hands back, Try to drop your bum towards your heels. Make sure that your knees are softly splayed out. Allow your forehead to gently connect to the mat. Connect that third eye. Press gently, softly into that pressure point between the two eyebrows. Then soften through your palms, your forearms, your elbows. Release your wrists, maybe allowing your fingertips to look up to the ceiling and then bleed back down, just releasing any tension in the arms. Take a few recovery breaths. Then we'll repeat that short sequence on side 2. Bleed your way through 4-point kneeling, so square up through your knees and your feet. Tuck your toes under. Pike your bum up to the ceiling. Find your down dog. Hold the stretch or pedal it out if you need to. Try to drop down as best you can through the heels of your feet. Get an awesome stretch into the front and the back chain of the body. And then when you're ready, soften the left knee. Kick up the leg behind you. Find 3-legged dog. Tripada Adho Mukha Svanasana. Then think knee to nose on the lead leg. Find the angle on the lead leg that works for you. Release the lead leg and the back leg to the mat. Slide, walk, or creep your back leg away. Get a sense of connecting to your inner gyroscope. Don't lean into your bum cheek. So if you need to, take your block, wedge it underneath your bum crease so that you're getting a sense of being even on both sides of your body. Give me a high pigeon line. Eka Pada Rayaka Potasana, pushing off your spider fingertips, looking for that sense of allowing your inner thighs and your core to hold your body weight. Float the hands behind you, maybe making a little fist, but not dropping the fist between your bum cheeks, rather reaching through your knuckles and almost pushing up towards the ceiling, if that makes sense. If that is not working for you today, maybe try bending at the elbows, stacking your forearms, and just holding on to the forearms, allowing your forearms to gently rest on your lower back. Take a few generous breaths here. And then think about how you're going to find your way into child pose from here. Unbind your hands, feed the block out from underneath your bottom, if it was there. Step your lead leg back, big toes together, knees softly splayed out, extending the arms long and lengthened on the mat. Push off your fingertips and your palms, sink your bum back. Try to tap your bum to your heels. Take a few generous breaths here. Make sure your third eye is connected to the mat. Then maybe soften through your palms, your wrists, your forearms, your elbows. Release any tension in the wrists by maybe floating your fingertips up to the ceiling and then softly reconnecting to the mat to release any tension in the carpal tunnel area. Then bleed your way from here into a seated frame of your choice, maybe into Vajrasana, Thunderbolt, with your knees together and your feet together, sitting back on the heels. You can keep your current orientation on the mat. I'm going to pivot so that you've got a front view of me. We're going to end off with a little bit of breath work, Satali, and you can just relax the hands onto the top of your thighs, maybe palms down or resting one hand on top of the other. If you're a female, left hand on top of right. If you're a male, right arm on top of left. Fingertips maybe softly touching, shoulder blades nice and soft. We're going to take a little Satali breath, so you'll be inhaling through the mouth, exhaling through the nose. For this particular breath, I'd like you to stick the tongue out, curl the tongue and make a little straw. Suck the air through that straw. Close the mouth, exhale through the nose. Rinse and repeat, finding a soft rhythm of your own. Don't be afraid to make noise. Keep that Satali breath pattern flowing for at least 10 rounds, slurping the air up through your tongue, closing your mouth and exhaling through your nose. Closing the eyes, taking your focus in, starting to cool your body down after the invigorating heating work that we were playing with in today's class, activating your Pingala or your sun energy. After your last round of Satani breath, make sure that you're sitting up nice and tall, even through the shoulders, even through the pelvis. And close off your practice today by bringing your hands to active prayer in front of your heart center, pushing into the palms, maybe allowing your elbows to track wide on either side, and close off your practice. Namaste. Thank you so much for coming out and playing with me today. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Shoot me your comments. Make sure your notifications are on. And be ready for Pilates on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.